It seems like today's market knows no bounds when it comes to loading trucks up with all kinds of premium features and price tags to match. These are luxury vehicles, plain and simple.
We have two of the best trucks in the business right now, and they happen to be the two best sellers. And these aren't even the top trims you can buy, but this Ford F-150 Platinum and Ram 1500 Limited Longhorn are so decked out and so fancy, you can basically slap luxury brand badges on either of them and call it a day.
But they're priced like proper premium vehicles too, except one feels like it has a slight advantage, and it even looks like a bit of a bargain. For more expert car reviews, don't forget to share our channel and subscribe so you can catch some of this and maybe even a little of that. Okay, before we get to the good stuff, let's talk functionality. And this F-150 has a bunch of cool tricks, like this step that pops out of the tailgate. There's even clamp points and a ruler. There's a place to prop your phone up. And that means if you're cutting back here, you don't have to keep picking it up to look at measurements because it's right there. But my favorite feature has to be the inverter you can get. That means you can run this truck like a generator. Now, a gas-powered model like this, you can only get a 2 kilowatt unit, but if you go with the hybrid, you can upgrade it to a 7.2 kilowatt inverter. That's 7,200 watts. And it means you can plug your camper trailer in on the road and keep your beer in the fridge cold. But even a smaller one like this, it'll work for all kinds of tools on the job site, and it means you don't have to haul around a standalone generator with you.
So the Ram 1500 doesn't have that kind of power, but it still has a lot of other neat features that I think you'll like. And one of them are these huge lockable compartments alongside the bed that are drainable, so you can also use them as a cooler if you wanted to. And it does cut into bed space, but I still think they're really handy. Another really great feature is this great step that pops out from under the bumper. The one downside is you can't use it when the tailgate is open traditionally, but the tailgate also opens like a barn door, so you can still use that step.
You know, I do have to say the Ram has the slight advantage when it comes to exterior functionality, but there's something here your truck doesn't have, and that's a power open and close tailgate. I love that. Anyway, I think it's time to hit the road?
Let's go.
We're gonna hold back on specifics for now and stick to generalizations and just say that both of these trucks are priced right around $90,000 before tax. And we're also gonna gloss over the payload and towing capacities. Not that that stuff isn't important, but let's be real, they're all so similar these days. And here's the other problem. They vary so much from one trim to the next. So if I say a specific weight for the payload, well, it could be totally different than the truck you're looking at. That one could have way more or way less depending on the equipment. Now, speaking of equipment, this is the 2021 Ford F-150 Platinum, the second trim from the top. And there really aren't many options available, which I really like because you get a better sense of the trim itself rather than an a la carte truck like the one that Jodi's driving. But the options that are here are very important. Now, there's some other stuff like the FX4 package or this sunroof, but that's not what I'm talking about. I'm referring to stuff like that inverter. That's a $1,300 option. And another big one here, this truck has a 3.5 liter twin turbocharged V6 instead of the 5-liter V8 that comes with this Platinum trim. And that is significant because that Ram that Jodi's driving, it has a 5.7 liter Hemi under the hood. Now, would the standard V8 make for a more fair matchup? Yeah, probably, but this isn't an apples to oranges comparison either. Here's how you look at it. It's a lot more like a Granny Smith versus Gala situation because at their cores, they are very similar. It's just the flavors that are different. And now that I've exhausted all of my Apple puns, here's what you need to know about this motor. It makes 400 horsepower to go with 500 pound-feet of torque. Both of those numbers are more than what that Hemi makes, and it's paired to a 10-speed automatic transmission that is known for some clunkiness, but it's a decent powertrain overall. Though I have to say it, the hybrid is better. It uses the same engine and transmission, but it adds an electric motor as well as a small battery pack, so it's more efficient and it's just smoother overall. I'm telling you right now, if you are shopping for an F-150, you absolutely have to check that thing out. That hybrid is fantastic. But let's talk about this one for now. There is a little bit of turbo lag here, but it's pretty smooth. It just doesn't have that linear acceleration that's serving a torque. It's a lot more progressive in that truck versus this one, but it's still pretty nice overall.
When it comes to smoothness, the powertrain in this Ram 1500 is just overall better than what the F-150 is offering. So this is powered by a 5.7 liter V8. It's a Hemi. It has 395 horsepower and 410 pound-feet of torque. And it's naturally aspirated, so that power delivery feels a lot more linear and a lot more predictable than what the F-150 has. The transmission is also an 8-speed automatic, and it is just fantastic. I have not experienced any problems during my time with this truck. The engine and transmission just work so well together, and it just delivers smooth and seamless shifts time and time again. This truck also has a mild hybrid system, which really helps in the smoothness of the gear changes, but it also makes the stop-start system basically unnoticeable. And that mild hybrid system really doesn't do much to affect the fuel economy because it's not that kind of hybrid. But even so, this truck is consuming about the same amount of gas as that V6 powered F-150, which I think is really impressive. So just like the F-150, this 1500 has a four-wheel drive system with both low and high range gearing. I've been driving it mostly in two-wheel drive mode to help save gas, but there is also a four-wheel drive automatic mode that you can use to just set it and forget it, which is what I think a lot of people will do anyways. One major difference between this and the F-150 is that that truck still rides on leaf springs in the back, like a lot of other trucks do, but this Ram rides on coils and an air suspension at all four corners, and that combination is just killer. It gives the Ram all sorts of smoothness that the F-150 just can't match. It just rolls down the road in a way that is so controlled and so comfortable. I mean, it still rides like a traditional truck over rough roads, so you can feel some of those bumps kind of work its way through the frame. But in general, the Ram is just way easier to control than the F-150. It's way more maneuverable to drive, and it feels like a much smaller vehicle, whereas the F-150 just feels enormous in every scenario.
Jodi's definitely not wrong, and almost everything about the way the Ram drives is better than this F-150. The brakes, the steering, that almost car-like controllability, it is fantastic. But here's where the F-150 really starts to pull away, in my opinion, this cabin. And I'm not just talking about outright space, more the way it's used. Jodi likes driving that thing because it's a little cozier, whereas this is cavernous. But for a big guy like me, that has huge benefits. I really like the seating position in here. I'm nice and high, but not too high, and I can get very comfortable. I also really like the outward visibility here. And a big one, the door mirrors. I know that sounds like a weird thing to point out, but that Ram, well, it's got ones that are really for towing, so they're extended out just a little bit further from the doors themselves. But I have a bit of a blind spot because of it, whereas these ones are nice and snug, and then also the way this sill drops down, I really like it. The other thing with that Ram, I sit way too high. I can't get that driver's seat low enough, and then the other problem is the steering wheel doesn't tilt high enough for me. It also has an optional head-up display, which is something you can't get here, but it's useless to me because I can't actually lower it to the point that I can see it. So I can't even use it in the first place. That is a problem. I just don't feel all that comfortable in there. Whereas in here, I just sort of fit. And that goes for both rows of seats. Both of these trucks have these massive sunroofs that are optional in both of them. But with that one, I can't sit in the back. Tons of legroom, but not enough headroom. Whereas here, I fit very comfortably.
For me, I actually have the opposite problem as Dan. I found it way easier to get a safe and comfortable driving position in the Ram, whereas the F-150 just felt too big everywhere for me. And that's just something to keep in mind if you look like me versus if you look like Dan. And I also found the seats in general way more comfortable in the Ram. They're heated and ventilated in the front and the back, but only because it's an expensive add-on.
I've got to say that is a big sticking point for me because just about everything you see in that truck is optional. And that means that thing, well, it's $7,000 more than this once you add it all up. And it doesn't even have massaging front seats. But even more, basically, that big touchscreen, yeah, that's part of an upgrade package, whereas this one, it's standard. And that interface, well, it is one of the best in the business, but this is just easier to use. It's a lot more responsive, and I like the layout. I like that it's a landscape orientation instead of a portrait one. And that also means that when you're using Apple CarPlay or Android Auto, well, they look and feel just a little bit bigger and brighter as opposed to that one, even if they're about the same size. And then even some other stuff. If you take a look at the advanced safety and driver assist systems in here, they are way better than the Rams, and they're standard in this F-150, as well as some cheaper trims. Whereas that thing, they're optional, and that is a big problem for me. Again, the price puts it in the same ballpark, but the fact you have to add those to such an expensive truck really is trouble, because this thing is $88,000, and it actually feels like you're getting value for the money, especially compared to the $95,000 before tax Ram wants for that truck. And something else that I really like about this truck that you can't get with that Ram is this companion smartphone app. So you can control the truck, even that built-in inverter, all from your phone. You can schedule service appointments, lock and unlock the truck. It's very cool. I love having that accessibility in the palm of my hands. And something else I like about this thing that you don't get with the Ram is this keypad on the driver's door. You guys know I love going mountain biking, but there's nothing worse than having a whole bunch of personal items with you, like your car keys and your phone. Well, with this, you can lock it all in the truck and then use your phone or this keypad to unlock the door when you get back. I love that, and that's something you don't get with that Ram. To recap, we like how luxurious the Ford F-150 Platinum is, the stuff you can get like the inverter and smartphone app, and that it's well priced compared to that Ram. We don't like that the V6 engine isn't much more efficient than a V8, that it's still expensive despite that relative affordability, or that it's not quite as comfortable and easy to drive.
When it comes to the Ram 1500 Limited Longhorn, we like how it rides and drives like a luxury SUV, all the clever storage solutions you can get, and the silky smooth powertrain. We don't like how so much of what you see is optional, how expensive it gets once you add it all up, or this kind of tacky Western theme.
If you can look past brand loyalty, what this comparison comes down to more than anything else is priorities and preferences. These two trucks, they are so evenly matched in so many different ways that it comes down to the little things and how they impact everyday usability.
So we both agree that the Ram is objectively better to drive than the F-150, and we really love all of the clever storage solutions both inside and outside. I also prefer the way I fit inside a little bit better, and I even like some of the interior, even though it's not as luxurious as what the F-150 has.
It's a bit of a surprise to see the F-150 Platinum pull away in that department, and it's not just because that interior looks a little bit like it was designed by a re-emerged Randy River that's focused on Western wear. It's not about the massaging seats either, or even the way the space inside is used. It's about the cohesion, the way that truck comes together, and how it does it for a little bit less money.
So this might be one of the hardest comparisons we've ever had to do because both trucks bring so much to the table and they're both so easy to like, but in the end, the winner is the F-150. It just overall is a better package, and yes, it doesn't drive as well, but it hits back with a ton of amenities and a lower start price, and it's ready to work when it needs to.